UIC. Freedom the people of hell yeah. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. That when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. UIC run the road long time. GLP and PMP sell we out.
Is muted. Good evening, everyone. My name is Douglas Harper, and welcome to another edition of the UIC Liberty TV. Tonight is a special show. Special because I'm sitting in for our treasurer, who's having a bit of technical difficulties, and so I'm sitting in for her tonight. But we have a very special show planned for you. Tonight we'll be talking about the JPS and our energy crisis that we are in. A lot of you may have heard recently that the JPS is planning on increasing our bills. So tonight we're going to look at just that how the JPS has been running since its inception, and what the government has been doing or not been doing in terms of providing proper energy for Jamaicans and allowing us to be able to be more productive by being able to use cheaper energy. So tonight we're going to get to that. Before we get into that though, I just want to welcome everyone on the live. Let's see who is here. JMH is always here. One of the first people, as well as Lion rule the jungle without fear. Good night, fellas. Thanks for coming on. You guys are always on, and I'm really impressed with you guys. Liddy, welcome. Class is in session, definitely. Pleasant good night to all. Okay, so tonight, as I said, we're going to be speaking on the JPS and our energy crisis. And you know, we have a situation where instead of the government making it easy for us Jamaicans to be able to generate alternative energy and renewable energy and feed that into our national grid, instead of that happening, we've had, you know, decades of just bad governance, bad policies, which have led to just one supplier. I'm going to go through some history, and we're going to see how the government has really just acquired we had several companies before, and acquired all the companies, and just kind of consolidated everything to one. And so now we have this monopoly, and it's really killing us. And so we're going to get into that this evening. Good night, Cordell, Garfield Drummond, UIC, definitely. Blessings Uniters, Chat Truth Vibes, welcome. Patriotic Vibes, welcome as well. And so yes, tonight we're going to be talking about the JPS. So please remember, guys, to like and to share the live. And as well, leave your comments, because we like to be interactive and, you know, answer comments and share ideas, because we all learn from each other, yes? And of course, subscribe. Very important. We need our subscribers or subscription numbers to go up. And so, you know, subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend, you know, about the UIC Liberty TV YouTube channel. And you will see the UIC thriving, right? Also very important is we have a drive going on. We have a goal of 1,000. We want 1,000 members donating $25 a month. And so that's one of our targets. So we'd like you all to, you know, donate to the UIC. Go onto our website, www.uicjamaica.com, and sign up to be a donator and donate $25. Or I mean, if you have $10, we want to, you know, we won't turn it away. If you're able to give $50, we won't turn that away either. But our goal is to get at least 1,000 members donating $25 or more, and that will help the UIC in being able to do what we need to do. All right. So here on the screen, you're seeing the numbers that you can call: 876-293-0812. All right. So first, I'm going to look at how energy is generated, because a lot of us, you know, we hear about energy and we just think that you just walk to the wall outlet or the switch on the wall and just, you know, turn on the switch and, you know, light is here. But there's some more that goes into it. So I'm just going to see if we can get here a video that will share how energy is generated. Where are we now? Where are we? I'm not seeing that. Oh, okay, here we go. All right.
Here's a question for you. How many people does it take to turn on a light bulb? The answer seems simple. Just walk into a dark room, flip a switch, and instantly you can see, right? Well, the truth is there's a lot more to generating and delivering electrical power than you've probably imagined. Hi, I'm Lee Patrick Sullivan with Energy Now, and this Energy 101 video explains the system used to generate electricity. And it also explains what it really takes to turn on a light bulb. In order to understand energy, we first need to start at the source, literally. Mother Nature provides the natural resource used to generate power. From natural gas to coal, ocean tides to mountain winds, the energy we need to create electricity must first be mined, harnessed, or collected from the earth. Some of these resources are finite, including fossil fuels like coal and oil, but others are unlimited, like solar or wind power. But a lump of coal or a strong breeze alone won't create the power that turns on your light. For every energy source, a chemical or mechanical process is required to turn it into usable electricity. Every day, researchers work to find innovative ways to use our limited resources, process raw materials, harness renewables more efficiently, and find entirely new energy sources. Today, the majority of America's electricity comes from thermal power plants. Fuels like coal, natural gas, biomass, and uranium are used to heat water until it produces steam, which powers a turbine and generates electricity. That steam turns propeller-like blades around a rotor inside the turbine. This turning rotor connects to a main shaft which spins magnets with a coil inside a generator. It's the generator inside a turbine that converts mechanical energy into electric energy and creates electricity. Steam is an efficient method of producing electricity because the water can be recycled and reused as it changes back and forth between liquid and gaseous states. Transporting electricity from the power plant to your home is an entirely different process. Current technology cannot cost-effectively store large amounts of electricity. So significant challenges exist when it comes to transferring that electricity across long distances. Just enough electricity has to be generated to meet demand at all times and be transmitted through power lines to reach your light switch. Too much or too little power can crash the transmission system and cause a blackout. That's why a complex mix of logistics, management, and infrastructure is needed to transmit electricity from power generators to consumers. Enter the electricity grid, also known as simply the grid. The North American electricity grid is actually made of 4 large grid systems: the Western grid, the Eastern grid, the Texas grid, and a grid covering the Canadian province of Quebec. These independent regional networks of power plants and transmission lines carry electric energy at high voltage within their area to local utilities. There are very limited links between the 4 grids, which means electricity generated from a wind turbine in West Texas cannot reach an apartment building in New York City. For electricity to move through one of the 4 grids, its voltage must first be increased by a device called a transformer. Then the electricity can travel long distances across high voltage transmission lines. These high voltage lines are generally strung between giant metal towers. They stretch for miles from power plants to local substations in each neighborhood. You've probably seen substations along the side of the road and wonder what they do. Well, their job is stepping down electric voltages from levels as high as 765,000 volts closer to the 110 volts you use in your home. The electricity from the power line on your street passes through another transformer, which steps down the voltage once more, and then it travels along the line into your house. From there, the electricity enters your breaker box, and it is then distributed to light sockets and outlets. All you have to do is flip a switch. So, as you can see, from the raw materials to the power lines on your street, there's so much more to the electricity ecosystem than meets the eye.
All right, so that was a video that basically showed how electricity is generated. We saw the process of the actual generation of the energy.
Hey, I'm Joey, and I'm one of the 30 AI voices from SpeechLab. You listened to this video until now, and you probably...
Right, so we saw the process from generating the energy to actually transmitting it along the lines, along the power lines, to a transformer, and transformer stepping down the energy, or actually boosting the energy first, sending it along the lines to another transformer that turns it down, and then it comes to your house. So that's basically how electricity is generated. So why is that important? Well, there are several different ways of generating energy. In the video, it spoke about coal, it spoke about wind, sea. So there's different ways of generating energy. And one of the things with that has happened in Jamaica is that we are creating or generating energy that is not beneficial, or it's not being beneficial for us. We're creating and generating energy at a loss, really, because we have to be importing barrels of oil to generate this energy, whereas we could be basically getting this energy for free from the sun, the wind, etc. All right, so but electricity, when did it come to Jamaica? I'm going to give a little history class here. So electricity first came to Jamaica in 1892, right? Fun fact, I think Black River was the first town in Jamaica, actually, to get electricity, or to have electricity in the town. And so we were actually one of the first countries in the Western Hemisphere to have electricity at the time, in 1892. And so then we went on, and we had, as I said earlier, we had several different companies, several different energy companies operating in Jamaica. One of them, the Jamaica Public Service, was registered in May 25, 1923. So in 1923, the Jamaica Public Service was registered as energy company or electricity company. In 1966, the government issued the first all-island 25-year license to the JPS. So what this means is that, as I said, there are several energy companies in the country. And what the government did is give JPS a license to distribute that energy all over the island for 25 years. Now, this wasn't an exclusive license, but this was just a license for the JPS. That was in 1966. In 1970, the government acquired controlling interest in the JPS. So in 1970, the government acquired a controlling interest in the Jamaica Public Service, making it a government, making fall under the government. Then 8 years later, in 1978, the JPS began operating under an exclusive 39-year all-island electricity license. So let's do some math. So in 1966, right? In 1966, they got a 25-year license, right? So that would have brought them up to 1991, right? So up until 1991, they were licensed to distribute electricity and generate electricity in Jamaica, all over the island. In 1978, right? This is what, 11 years after they got that 25-year license, they began operating under an exclusive 39-year all-island electricity license. So basically, the JPS, this is where the monopoly began. The JPS got exclusivity to transmit, to generate and distribute electricity all over the island for the next 39 years, right? That would have taken us up to, I think it's 2016. Let me do the math. I have my little calculator here. Plus 39. Yes, 2017. Now in 2017, guess what the government did? Now you would have thought that, we've had, there have been, little pockets of, alternative energy popping up here and there. With the rising price of oil, you would have thought that by 2017, the government would have said, you know what, maybe we should be looking at creating or generating our own energy, looking at ways on how we can generate our own energy. We all know about solar. Maybe at the time, solar wasn't as prevalent as it is now. But what if we, took the time out to just lay a foundation for the next 10, 15, 20 years, so that in the next 20 years, Jamaica would not be as dependent on fossil fuels. Way less dependent on fossil fuels, because we have built out these solar panels and solar generating energy from solar energy from the sun, or building hydro plants, or building wind farms. These are things that the government could have done, could have started in 2017. But guess what they did? They granted the JPS another license. Now, I don't remember how long that license is, but they granted the JPS another license, another multi-year license, exclusive, as well, might I add, another multi-year exclusive license to the Jamaica Public Service. So this is just an example of how the government really doesn't care about the rising cost of oil and the rising cost of electricity, which impedes your production, which makes everything go up, right? Because the cost of transportation is going to go up, transporting goods from point A to point B, transporting yourself from point A to point B. You know, if you don't have a car, you may have to be taking a taxi. So many things that go into oil. And if we could have weaned ourselves off of the dependence on oil, we would have been in a better place now. But I'm going to show a video that is going to maybe surprise some of you in some of the things that is said. Where is it now? Where are we? Okay, here we are. And we're going to see how the government really has not been, really doesn't care about what's happening in the country as it relates to energy, as it relates to bringing energy costs down, and making it easier for us to do business, making it easier for us to share, you know, electricity with each other, so forth. So I'm just going to play the video now. Let me see if this will work. All right.
Reasonably priced electricity. But what we have in Jamaica is actually electricity rates amongst the highest in the world. Go online and go on Google and you'll see that Jamaica comes in at number 6 in the world when it comes to expensive electricity. Now, electricity is at the heart of all our problems in Jamaica because it directly affects education. In 2019, there's a report from Arden High School, and the headmistress, principal, said that their electricity bills sometimes reach a staggering 5 million Jamaican dollars a month. That is over 32,000 Jamaican dollars a month. I mean, 32,000 US dollars a month. That is why education is underfunded, because we have all this money moving to paying electricity bills and making JPS richer. Now, since the 2000s now, Jamaica was never going to have cheap electricity because we don't have oil and we don't have coal. But since the 2000s now, we have sunshine and we have wind and we have waste energy, and this technology has improved and improved and got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So what we should have been doing is investing in it. But what has the Jamaican government done? They betrayed the people. So let me go through a bit of history here. In 2009, the Jamaican government at the time said we're going to build 2 waste-to-energy plants, which will generate 18% of our electricity and save 60 million US dollars every year. They've never been built. In 2012, the energy minister, he actually came off the grid and got his house solar powered. Yes, and then reported that it will take him 5 years. This is the energy minister. It will take him 5 years to pay back his bill for his solar. Why didn't the energy minister then go to Parliament and say, look, why don't we take off all our infrastructure off the grid? It pays for itself in 5 years. In 2014, there's a hotel over there in Lucy named the Grand Palladium. It's huge. I think you can see it from space, it's that big. They put in solar panels, and according to the Gleaner newspaper, it's 2014, you can look, it was apparently the biggest solar plant in the Caribbean. They reported, 2014, that it's going to take them only 4 years to pay it back. This is a whole 5-star hotel running 24/7 with your fans and air conditioning, all the rest of it. 4 years it's going to take them to pay back. That's 2014. But it gets worse because in the same year, a school named Holy Trinity a charity put in a few solar panels into that school, and then it was reported that if they'd come completely off the grid, that 80,000 US dollars would actually save them over $80,000 a year. So what I'm saying, this school has reported that it will take you less than a year. If you put in solar panels, it will pay for itself in less than a year. This now was reported to the Minister of Education, who was Reverend Waite, who is the parliamentarian for that region in Kingston. So he knew about it, reported it to Parliament. So why aren't all our schools solar powered? They just left them. As I said, right now parents still have to pay fees, and education is grossly underfunded. In 2015, again, Philip Powell, he said we're going to put solar panels in all of the rural areas, and they'll all come off the grid. That was and all off the grid by 2017. We still have today rural areas in the dark. Electricity isn't a luxury. It's not a luxury, but they're leaving it. It's the government's responsibility. If JPS don't want to put in the electricity there, it's the government's responsibility to then find a way to build a solar grid and give these people electricity. That's what they should be doing. Now, the thing about all of this is that, as I said, this would have paid for itself if the government had started this investment from when Philip Powell said in 2012 that he's off the grid. We're in 2021 now. It would have paid for itself by 2017-18. So over there, that expanse is Cornwall College. You can see the amount of land that college sits on, the amount of roofs. So they've got the school there, and over there, that yellow building. And then back there, they've got even more land with a little stadium. All of that, just like they did in America, create a solar farm. As I said, one school generated $2 million US in 3 years. So that school has got immense land and immense potential that all of that neighbourhood it could be supplying. So there's that one school there, that's Cornwall, the biggest one. Then you've got Mount Alvernia over there. That should have solar panels. This one here is Chetwood, another one, should have solar panels. And I said, some schools won't be suitable for them, so they'd have to have work done on them. But again, it's more money, and it's going to be more investment and more work. So you have Chetwood there. Again, changes, solar panels. You're removing the JPS debt. Sorry, the JPS bill. You're just removing the JPS bill. 3.4 billion is sitting in the Jamaica bank, and it's not being used. And you can look at the amount of land that we should be using to put in solar panels. Now over there, there is a chapel that costs $250,000 US. It was built in about 2015. So instead of putting solar panels in, they decided to build a chapel. And somebody within the Ministry of Education, when it opened, said, it's a great idea. Every school, oh sorry, let me go back. It was actually built by ex-students. Now what do they call ex-students? What's the term I use for ex-students? Right, the Past Students Association. And they raised it to $250,000, and they built this chapel. And at the opening, they said again that it will pay for itself in 5 years, because it's going to have baptisms, weddings, all those kinds of activities, and within 5 years it will pay for itself. I've never seen an activity over there. And it's built in about 2014, 2015. That money has just been wasted. But somebody from the ministry said that building chapels are the way forward for Jamaican schools. That is the country we live in. Building chapels for $250,000 US is the way forward for Jamaica. If we had, we'll say, we had waste energy that I mentioned, obviously if you have waste energy, it will mean that you have better solid waste management. So all of this garbage that we see at the side of the roads and all these big rats that are like that big jumping around, they wouldn't be around anymore. We'd have clean streets now. There was a story last week where we had dead chickens were dumped somewhere in Clarendon. If we had waste to energy, that wouldn't have happened. Dumped on the street and just rotting so the people couldn't actually use the road. They had to take detours, they couldn't use it. If we had waste to energy, that wouldn't have happened. These chickens would have been collected and be used to make electricity. If we'd had solar from back when Philip Orwell said from 2012, now, as I said, it will work out that from the Grand Palladium said that it will take them 4 years to pay back the investment. So right now, all our infrastructure, our street lights, traffic lights, schools, police stations, fire station, all these buildings, if they were solar powered, we'd be saving 150 million US a year, because that is actually the bill. From 2015, that was the kind of bill we had that we were paying JPS, 150 million every year. Natural gas is another fossil fuel. It's mined. They claim that natural gas, because it's this climate change, they said, oh, it's greener. Natural gas is a fossil fuel. And what is cleaner than having your sunshine and your wind and taking your organic waste and creating energy from that? Natural gas is not clean. First of all, it's got to be mined. When it is mined, you have effluent that comes out into the atmosphere. You have lots of the gas itself, methane, so it is not clean. So it puts all these pollutants into the atmosphere when it is being mined. So it is far from clean. But the point being here is that instead of looking at our situation, the World Bank has decided it's more important for the American economy and the fossil fuel industry for them to stay solvent at our expense. So we now have natural gas, and lo and behold, let me just say again about the natural gas. In 2015, when Holness was on the campaign trail, he went around telling people that he's going to bring in the big companies, and he said to deliver cheap electricity to you, just like a used car salesman to you. That's what he said. Whoa! Have you seen our electricity bills? Early in the year, the people had to create, we had a petition. Of course, nothing been done by that, but 50-odd thousand, I think, signed it. We had people go outside the JPS office in Kingston, and they're out there demonstrating. And there's some great signs, actually. One sign said JPS, what was it? JP just plain stealing, that was one name. Another guy had a map of Jamaica with JPS kneeling on it, and Jamaica said, we can't breathe. And it's true, we can't breathe JPS. But then we can't have manufacturing, can we? And we should be having manufacturing. We should have solar powered factories in the country. If you go into a supermarket and you look at all these tin foods, they can be produced here. I'll give you an example. Tin butter beans and tin broad beans, they're imported all the way from Italy. They come in tins all the way from Italy to sell us Jamaican people. Now, I'm going to use euros. A tin of these beans costs €1. The minimum wage in Jamaica is just under €1. In Italy, they don't have a minimum wage, but the unions won't allow anybody to work for less than €7. So, you're going to tell me that we couldn't import the raw materials, the raw beans, build our solar power factories, pay our workers a living wage of, say, €3 instead of the €7. You're going to tell me that we cannot produce these foods in Jamaica? We can. We should be producing them and manufacturing other things and exporting. We're not doing that because of the kind of government we have. And as I said before, we don't have to borrow any money because there's $3.4 billion sitting in the Bank of Jamaica doing nothing. But it's really shameful about manufacturing because, believe it or not, in England, as you know, and I know a bit about England, that country's grey, you know. It's grey. Sometimes you don't see the sun for like a month. You know that there's a car company called Bentley. They build luxury cars. If you're into the English Premier League, you'll always see their footballers driving around in these cars. The cheapest Bentley is 165,000 US, the cheapest one. This Bentley factory is solar powered. In England, where there's no bloody sun, it's solar powered. Look here, look. We don't have one solar powered factory in Jamaica. It's an embarrassment. What else can we do? We actually import bottles, solar powered factory to make our bottles. Just think about the amount of work we're going to make that. Recycling, we don't have recycling. The World Economic Forum, they put out a paper saying, and the title of it was, Making Gold from Plastic. Making gold from plastic. So we can recycle in this country, in our solar powered factories, create jobs and make bloody money. And the other thing we'll be doing again is having an impact on the Jamaican dollar, because then we're not going to be buying no more American dollars. So our Jamaican dollar will start to appreciate. So as you can see, it's no shock why Jamaica is broke. And because we're broke, the Jamaican government has done the absolute worst thing. It is inviting in the IMF to look at our financing. So the IMF, according to them, their goals are to reduce global poverty and to encourage growth. That now is not for Jamaica. They don't look at it like that for Jamaica, not for black people in general, and not for poor people, because the IMF doesn't do anything for poor and it doesn't do anything for black people. So they came in 2013, and in 2015 a paper was written that Jamaica is suffering the most severest austerity in the whole universe. Not in England, on the planet, in the whole universe, according to this guy. Because the IMF has said, even though we have this climate change, we're not going to look at climate change and your energy and how your energy and the relationship to JPS. No, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is say, first thing, you can't invest anymore, i.e. so you can't have any roads or hospitals. But you can spend, of course. They don't mind them spending. The Jamaican government does spend. Second thing they said, you must cut jobs. And you can't pay your workers. You can't increase the pay anymore. You just have to stay at this stagnant level. They can't get paid anymore.
Well, let me hear you say, man.
All right. So that was a mouthful. But I'd like to just share some points that he made in the video. One of the first points that grabbed me is we had plans for, I didn't know this until I started watching the video. We had plans to build 2 waste to energy, which basically you're getting waste and you're turning it into energy. So that's like biogas. 2 of those plants here in Jamaica. 2 from 2009, he said. That's wow. I'm in shock. Never been built. And this is a kind of government that we've been having for the last 78 years. Where they just make promises. They just make these grandiose announcements, but never really come through with these announcements. We never really put plans in place to move forward with these announcements. And part of that is special interest groups. If you have special interest groups that are funding the political parties, then when those political parties come into power, those parties now have to give the special interest groups, what they want, because they basically put them in. Yes. Another thing, 2012, the energy minister at the time put solar panels on his house. That should have been a clue for many people that, hey, I mean, if this is the energy minister, this is the guy that is in charge of Jamaica's energy, and he himself is looking to go solar, then even if he isn't trying to make solar affordable to for others, that should have been a clue to say, hey, listen, there's something here. But, you know, of course, in true fashion, the government does what they want to do, or the members of the government do what they want to do, because they're able to do what they want to do because of, you know, the money that they're making. And he was able to install solar panels on his house, and he said it would take him 5 years to pay back what he spent on the panels. This is in 2012. And the cost of installing solar panels at the time was much higher than it is right now. And it took him he said it would have taken him 5 years to get back the money that he spent, or to make for that money to be equalized. So again, that was a clue. You know, 2015, he made an announcement, grand announcement. We're always making kind of announcements. Put solar panels around the country, several places around the country. Never done, wasn't done. You know, I honestly believe that these special interest groups had their hands in what is happening right now. Another interesting point was that the money that the government spends on electricity for, you know, government agencies, schools, etc., is $150 million a year. That is, I mean, think of the savings think of where that money could have been put in to, you know, the health sector, you know, other areas in the country that would have benefited from that. If we had just said, you know, listen, in what date was that? We didn't give a date, but if we had just said, all right, we're committed to, you know, becoming energy secure, because when we're energy secure, that will kind of safeguard all external shocks. And so when, like what happened recently with the war between Russia and Ukraine, when that happens, we wouldn't necessarily have an issue with energy, because we'd be generating our own energy. And so it just kind of shows the short-sightedness of our government. And again, this has been happening over years, you know, 7 to 8 years since our right to vote, 60 years since our quote-unquote independence, and we're still being fooled and tricked, you know. But the JPS would say, you know, there's a reason why these bills are so high, or one of the reasons why the bill is so high is because of theft, electricity theft. You know, so one reason is the prices of oil, you know, fluctuating. And then the other reason is electricity theft. And according to them, electricity theft is a huge impedance on them. And so because they're being impeded, they're having to deal with this. We, the customers, are going to have to share that burden with them as well. I'm going to play a video that actually speaks to that. Let's see if we can get it here. Okay, here we go.
As complaints increase over high electricity bills, the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, has revealed that its customers are also bearing the cost of electricity theft. Director of Corporate Communications at the JPS, Winsome Callum, made the disclosure on Power 106 FM's Morning Agenda on Friday. O'Shane Masters reports.
Over the past few months, customers of a Jamaica public service company, JPS, have been up in arms with the electricity provider over the significant increases in their light bills. The Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, on June 16, reported that complaints to its offices via calls, letters, and emails were up 209%. Meanwhile, complaints via social media have also risen sharply. But information from the power company has revealed that some of the company's losses are passed on to its customers.
Well, right now, the customers actually pay for about approximately 20% of the theft or overall losses, as we call it. You have technical losses and non-technical losses, and the customers actually pay for about 20% of that. The total amount of losses that we're looking at now is about 27%. So JPS absorbs about the 6 to 7%, and the customers, the other 20% is spread across.
In the meantime, one JPS customer says the manner in which the company goes about dealing with electricity theft is unfair to its paying customers.
My greatest challenge is the flippant way that it was disclosed to us, and the manner in which we were told that, yeah, this is what is happening. And I think what we would like to hear is, or personally what I would like to hear, is what's being done about it. Like, what are the strategies that are being put in place, consistently put in place, consistently executed? What are the long-term plans for this issue? Because it can't just be that, oh, well, there's electricity theft. It's a cultural problem. It happens. It's been happening for a long time. We're just going to charge you for it.
Director of Corporate Communications and Customer Experience at the JPS, Winsome Callum, says the company has launched a number of initiatives to deal with electricity theft. However, it's not something the company can tackle by itself.
It is a crime, and as you would appreciate, JPS cannot manage to deal with a crime on its own as an entity. So JPS has made several representation to the OUR, to the government, because we all need to work together on this, and the government has signaled its willingness to support on this, because there are things that are strictly outside of JPS's control.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
All right, so there you have it. The JPS is saying that 20% of their losses is being covered by their customers. They have a total loss of 27%, and they're covering the 7%, and the 20% is covered by the customers. And I think it's really unfair that we're being asked to cover for the JPS's negligence. I mean, if you're running a business and you're having, let's say you have a bucket and the bucket has a hole in it. It's your job to mend the bucket and, find where the holes are and deal with that situation instead of just passing that on to your customers. And again, it kind of just shows how, because of JPS's monopoly, it shows how cocky, for want of a better word, they are in approaching and dealing with their customers. But with all that being said, what is the UIC stance and position on all of this and all that's happening? What is our stance and position on energy? Well, if you have been listening to the UIC for a while, you would have heard that one of the points in our 10-point plan is to actually make Jamaica energy secure, right? Now, this is part and participle of a holistic security for Jamaica. So part of making Jamaica energy secure is also making Jamaica food secure and water secure. So we have food security, water security, but we also want to make Jamaica energy secure. And so what we want to do is we want to now open up the energy sector. and allow people to be able to generate electricity from alternative or renewable sources. So we're talking about solar, we're talking about wind, hydro, etc. So we want to be able to open up the sector and allow Jamaicans to generate and contribute to the grid, right? That way, that's going to help to reduce our cost of electricity. And of course, you know, the cheaper it is for someone to run their business because electricity is low, right? The better it is in terms of productivity, and the cheaper you will have prices will be cheaper. And so it really helps when you have an energy sector that is cost effective, or for want of a better word, cheap, right? Well, not cheap in terms of quality, but cheap in terms of price. So we want to shift Jamaica from paying millions of US dollars to import oil, right? To actually producing electricity for ourselves and making the country energy secure, protecting us from external shocks, right? A key point to note here is that Jamaica currently has 89% of its energy coming from fossil fuels. Now, why alternative energies? Why are we so heavy on promoting and pushing alternative energies? Because they're alternative, they're renewable, right? The problem with fossil fuels is that when you drill the oil and you drill all the oils from that oil well, it takes another 1 billion years for another oil well to be formed, right? It doesn't happen overnight. Whereas sun, we get the sun every day, right? And it's going to take, I don't know, billions of years before, you know, some scientists have said that the sun is going to explode at some point. That's billions of years from now, right? So we have solar energy, right? We have wind energy, right? We have hydro electricity. We also have geothermal electricity. These are all things that Jamaica has available to us that we can tap into and create a mix, create an energy mix, right? So that we have maybe 20% from solar, you know, another 30% from hydro, another 30% from geothermal. Putting that all together, we can have, we'll be able to have a grid that the energy that's flowing to the grid, or that's coming to the grid, is renewable and is cheaper, right? So 89% of our electricity or our energy right now is from fossil fuels. As of 2020, only 11% of our electricity, of our energy, comes from renewable energies. And the breakdown of this is 6.5% for wind, 3.5% for hydro, and 1% for solar. 1%. Yes, the country that's in a tropical area that has sunlight 90% of the year, only 1% of our energy in the grid, or 1% of our electricity, comes from solar. So Jamaica has a far way to go in terms of building up our electricity stock, or alternative energy stock. And so the UIC's plan is to focus on getting ourselves energy secure. Let's stop focusing on importing barrels of oil and being at the behest, or, you know, the tail end of whatever happens externally. External shocks are going to happen, you know. Why are we suffering because of what's happening outside? You know, I would have thought that over 78 years of government, or 78 years of being in power, somebody in the government, JLP or the PNP, or, you know, someone would have said, you know, this don't make no sense. I'm spending money to get something when I could get a similar thing, right, for less. You know, it just don't make any sense. Anyway, so our policy is to have a mixture of renewable energy supplying the grid. So, you know, hydro, solar, etc. And again, Jamaica has this. Jamaica has plenty of sun, plenty of water. We're called the land of wood and water. And we have plenty of wind. The northeast trade winds blow through Jamaica. So just those three things alone, we would be able to curb our electricity bills. Now, there are several countries that have added alternative energy sources to their grids. And there's one country in particular that really stands out to me, and it's Costa Rica. And I'm going to play a video for you guys that shows how Costa Rica has been able to shift their energy dependence from fossil fuels to renewable energies. Okay, so here we are.
Generating 97% of its electricity from renewable sources, Costa Rica is aiming to become the first carbon-neutral country in the world by 2021. So let's take a closer look at the world's greenest economy. Costa Rica has abundant rainfall and heat-giving volcanoes, a powerful combination when paired with years of heavy investments in hydroelectric, geothermal, and wind energy. Costa Rica leads the Central Americas in renewable production, ahead of other green-friendly economies like Uruguay and Austria. Around 80% of energy comes from Costa Rica's hydroelectric plants, followed by geothermal, which provides 13% of energy supply, and the rest coming from a combination of wind, biomass, and photovoltaic sources. $22 million tons of carbon dioxide is emitted by the country every year, but 16 million of that is offset by the country's large forested areas. Costa Rica is also home to Raventazon, Central America's largest hydroelectric project, which generates 305 megawatts, which is enough energy to power over 500,000 homes. The government also has plans to increase the number of wind turbines to boost electricity generation from wind power from 7% to 10.5% of national electricity generation by the end of 2017. One of the largest green energy projects has come from Japan's agreement to lend Costa Rica $224 million to finance part of the construction of the Las Pelas geothermal plant. Once completed, the total installed geothermal capacity will be 372 megawatts, making Costa Rica the world's 7th largest producer of geothermal energy. With the cleanest energy mix in the world, 2021 looks set to be a history for Costa Rica.
Okay, so 95% of Costa Rica's energy is from renewable energies. That is amazing. And I think Jamaica, we can do that under the UIC-led government. We definitely, we have enough sun, we have enough wind, we have enough hydro, we have enough geothermal, we have enough biogas to put all that together as a mix and present that to the grid and have even 95, 97, 98% of our grid being powered by renewable energies. And that will definitely reduce the cost of electricity, which will reduce the cost of production, which of course will reduce the cost of many things, right? Another country that is in our sights is a country that you will hear a lot about here at the UIC, and it's Singapore. And you know, a lot of times people are saying, well, you guys are always talking about Singapore. The truth of the matter is that they are such a great example of a small country that's been able to do so many great, make the right choices to get the country to where it needs to be. And so why not use a country that's smaller than Jamaica, that's been able to accomplish more than we've been able to accomplish? We had similar GDP at the time that we had independence. So we got independence in 62, they got independence in 65, you know, and we had similar GDP per capita at that time. But they've been able to leapfrog. In 25 years, they're now a first world country. And we are still struggling 60 years later, you know, 70, 80 years later. We're not able to grapple with, you know, what's happening in the world globally and say, all right, listen, let's focus on making ourselves secure in energy, right? We still can't do it. And so that's why we talk about Singapore a lot. They're a model, a great model to follow. So I'm going to play a video that speaks to Singapore. Now, Singapore is very small, right? Singapore is about the size of St. Thomas. And they don't have as many resources as Jamaica has. They don't have the land that we have, clearly because they're smaller. But also the land that they have is not even arable land, so they can't grow anything there. And so thinking in terms of building out solar panels and, you know, on top of rooftops, it wouldn't be as easy in Singapore as it would be in Jamaica, right? And so they've thought of what are ways that we can, even though we're not able to build out solar panels on rooftops, and we don't have the land space to just build a solar farm, what other ways can we build a solar farm? And I'm going to show a video now that is really ingenious, sorry. Where is it now? Singapore, right. That really shows you that, you know, if you really want to build it, you can. You know, and we're just wasting time here in Jamaica. So, let me just make sure this is right.
To reduce carbon footprint, Singapore is turning to renewable energy. And that means building one of the world's largest floating solar farms. This is Tengeh Reservoir Floating Solar Farm. With 122,000 solar panels spread across 16 arrays sitting on 250,000 floats, this joint project by PUB and Sembcorp covers a massive 45 hectares. That's equivalent to 45 football fields. It is also nearly enough space for 13 dual Changi airports, or just over 3.5 Suntec cities. The Tengeh Solar Farm has a capacity of 60 megawatt peak, which can power around 16,000 4-room HDB flats for a year. This translates to a carbon emissions offset of 32 kilotons annually. This is equivalent to removing around 7,000 cars from the road. In comparison, the two largest floating solar farms in the world, which are both located in China's Anhui province, each have capacities of 150 megawatt peak. A solar power system's capacity is measured in megawatt peak. This is the amount of power it can generate under ideal conditions. The Tengeh Solar Farm is set to be operational in the second half of 2021. The clean energy it generates will be used to power PUB's local water treatment plants. These are the plants that will turn reservoir water into drinking water. That makes up 7% of PUB's annual electricity needs.
In Singapore, the land is scarce, there is lack of roof space and there's lack of land space. So the reservoir is the other way to go to solarize Singapore. This is a 60 megawatt project and it's about 4% of Singapore's 1.5 gigawatt target.
Solar as a renewable energy source for Singapore is one of the most viable. For PUB, this energy also is able to power all our 5 water works. So with this project, Singapore will be one of the few in the world to be 100% green in terms of water treatment.
The Tengeh Solar Farm uses photovoltaic or PV technology to generate power from the sun. When sunlight hits the cells on the PV panels, the absorbed radiation triggers a reaction. This generates a direct electric current. The current produced is then converted into an alternating current by a power conditioning system. The current is then channeled into the power grid. From there, PUB will claim credits for the energy produced by the farm for the operation of its water treatment plants. Putting together an island of solar panels starts on the bank of the reservoir. Workers assemble the panels into arrays which are fixed to floats. Once a portion has been assembled, it is towed out by a tugboat to its allocated location. There it is tethered to anchors planted in the reservoir bed to prevent it from drifting. Sembcorp also had to deal with the realities of the COVID-19 pandemic when construction began in December 2020. Shipments of parts were delayed, which the company compensated for by increasing worker productivity.
As part of productivity improvements, Sembcorp's engineers, our contractors, actually sat down in a room to brainstorm different methods to improve the installation methods. One example is to innovate a jig that they can assemble the panels in a faster way. So we managed to improve the productivity from 1,500 panels to about 1,800 panels per day.
To minimize possible delays should workers fall ill, the assembly area for the arrays was split into 4. Workers also take swab tests on a fortnightly basis as a precautionary measure before entering the construction site. Even our crew was not spared. This is Yao Hui, our photojournalist colleague who has been documenting the solar farm's progress since December. He's been swabbed 5 times so far. Also taken into consideration during construction was the preservation of the reservoir's ecosystem.
We look at different aspects, for example, biodiversity, impact on water quality, whether there's any impact on noise, etc. And from the studies, it's actually shown that the impact is actually very minimal. We also ensured that the system that is put in place is a well-designed one. That will include the selection of suitable materials. So for example, the floats that the solar PV is sitting on is actually certified food grade, high-density polyethylene. So it ensures that under long-term deployment in the water, there's also no concerns in terms of leaching. So it's safe for water treatment purposes.
While Tengeh is easily Singapore's biggest step towards reaching its climate goals, much work remains. Sembcorp will contribute to a quarter of the country's 1.5 gigawatt peak target once its projects are operational. And for PUB, it already has other projects in motion to expand Singapore's use of clean energy.
In addition to the Tengeh Reservoir floating solar PV, we also have 2 systems that's coming online this year. One is at Bedok Reservoir and the other one is at Lower Seletar Reservoir. Both are at 1.5 megawatt peak each. On top of that, we also try to maximize the solar PV at our rooftops within our infrastructure. We have already implemented a few on Changi Water Reclamation Plant, Choa Chu Kang Waterworks, Bedok Waterworks. We have also enrolled in the most recent Solar Nova program that has been launched by HDB and EDB. We are enrolling about 13 sites onto that program. So with the positive experience from all these solar PV systems that we have implemented, we will continue to progressively implement more when the opportunity arises.
All right, so we see that where there's a will, there's a way, right? Singapore doesn't have much land. Sorry. All right, Singapore doesn't have much land, not much rooftop space, and so they got together and said, how can we, improve our alternative energy, improve alternative energy in the country?
Hey everyone! So we launched our new platform for renewable energy professionals, and now how?
Okay. And so they, right, and so they got together and they built this solar farm on the harbor or on a lake. Like, who would have thought of that? And it just goes to show how, when you really want to do something, when the government really wants to do something, them can do it. So let's do it, and under the UIC government, we shall. One last thing is that as I mentioned earlier, our plan to take Jamaica to a energy secure place is coupled, or is going to be dovetailed with water security and food security. And so our land is going to be used. We're going to do away with crown lands, and we're going to allocate those crown lands for organic farming and couple organic farming with solar, with wind, with hydroelectricity. It just ties in perfectly, because now we'll have not just a alternative energy grid, but that benefits our environment. But now, because we have a great environment, we're now able to farm organically and benefit from that as well. So it's a twofold approach. And of course, not affecting our water table. So, we'll be able to have enough water to not just to provide for Jamaica, but also to export water. Water is a great resource. So, the UIC's plans are very holistic. We look at things from a holistic point of view. Firstly, from a first principles point of view, but then expanding, and how can we holistically approach the issues that we have in Jamaica. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor to questions. I don't know if Mr. Patterson wants to come in and answer any questions that were there. Let me see. Let me go through and see if we can have any questions. Do you see any questions, Mr. Patterson?
I saw a lot of wonderful chatter going on, versus exchanging a lot of thoughts. The bottom line is, though, the vast majority of the comments are really around the need for us to come together and work together to build the UIC, because persons are concerned that we don't have enough persons following us, or we don't have enough traction, or we don't have enough members. And all of those are the same concerns that we have as a team. And we know why. I want to say to people, do not underestimate the workings of the enemy of your freedom. They're doing everything possible to block the UIC from, if for example, we were not being blocked by traditional media, and now also by social media, who they're suppressing us in the feeds. If we were not being blocked, the UIC would have taken off like wildfire already. You saw what happened in September 22nd, 2001, how many persons quickly came out. Now, if we were able to have access the same way, no more, just the simple access of every time there's a news item that comes on the radio or television, somebody with a microphone says, what is the JLP saying? What is the PNP saying? What is the UIC saying? And the people would then hear from us. It would be over, and they know that. So we are being fought tremendously by the PSOJ organization that controls the media, controls the two parties, controls the economy, controls our education. So they really have a stronger hold on the necks of the Jamaican people, even when the people don't even realize that they're being blocked. Because most Jamaicans don't know what they don't know. They don't know that there's a concerted effort to keep the UIC away from them. Yeah. So I thank God for the diaspora members who are giving $10, $25, $50, $100, so that we're able to do the work that we're doing and pushing against the opposition, pushing as hard as we can. I saw a person saying we need to be out there more. We need to be out there on the road. Yeah, how do we get out there? It takes gas. It takes, you have all these poor candidates. And by poor, I mean poor. It's a fact of life. The you know why the JLP and PNP attract all the young people that they do? Those are young people who realize that if they join the PNP and JLP, they have a chance of making money out of politics. Okay? So they join those two parties because they have the money. Many persons would join the UIC, but when they realize that we don't have any money and that they're going to have to come and do the hard work and help us to raise the money, then they back off because they're not willing to do what I have done all of these years. You know, I have spent my own money, my family's money and time, and many persons are not prepared to do that. So if we're going to get anywhere, it's because of persons like Lion Rule the Jungle, Supreme TV, Wade, JMH, all of you who decide that you're going to give your time, your talent, and your treasure to help the UIC to move forward. And it's working. It's taking longer, it's harder, it's more painful, but remember what your grandmother said. If you want good, your nose off a run. So if we want the UIC to succeed, instead of saying, why is the UIC not here and there? Let us say, what am I doing? How many people am I telling? How many persons am I getting to subscribe to UIC Liberty TV so that they can get these wonderful updates that people like Douglas Harper puts together every day for us. So let us get our family on. We have currently 4,500 plus subscribers on UIC Liberty TV. We have 9,000 plus in the UIC group. We have probably 17,000 on the page. Let us keep expanding the boundary by each one telling one and telling one more and one more and one more until we expand the ecosystem of the UIC so we can reach more people outside of the regular channel. You know, we have the WhatsApp groups. We have about maybe combined 300 people, 400 people on the WhatsApp groups. So we push things out on WhatsApp and we push things out on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So we can do it. If we pull together, we can do it. We can overcome the PSOJ with all of their money. We can overcome. But tonight we're talking about energy. So let's see if we have any questions here on energy.
Let's see. I don't think this is that.
So Kamara is saying, how do we seek? Oh, okay. The current energy policies need changing. Absolutely. So the UIC model is a freedom model. We believe in liberty. We believe in freedom. And the only economic model that protects your liberty and freedom is a free market economy. Any economy where you give government the right to block you from participating in the economy and to give some people preference over some, any economy which has that is an economy which will not realize its full potential. And Jamaica has suffered because we have taken away the freedom of citizens to produce. Right now, every citizen should be able to put solar panels on their roof if they wanted to. And without any whole heap of obstruction and regulations, should be able to just simply, it's very simple, a process you just, once you have this and you plug it in, that's fine. And you can now sell your electricity back to the grid. That would be a big difference. Where I live right now, I have solar panels on my house. And I can tell you, I thank God every day that I made that decision because I see the benefits every single day of not being 100% depending on JPS. I have them as backup. I use JPS as backup. Okay? That means I only use them if I have too much overcast weather or I am doing any process which draws too much electricity, and so I am going to have a deficit. Normally, I don't need to do that because of that commitment. It was a painful commitment financially to make, but I made it and I'm happy for it. And I recommend to every Jamaican, wherever possible, get a solar system on your roof, whether or not you can plug into the grid, get it and stop depending on JPS. Let's run them out of business if the government won't do it.
I agree. All right, so next question is, currently every single aspect of the corporation company known as Jamaica, including the energy sector, is designed in such a way that the colonial masters et al. Steal from the poor via stealth.
Absolutely. But I want us to do something here. I want us to take a different attitude. You see, one of the things I've noticed, Douglas, is that as Jamaicans, we love to talk, we love to argue. So we will spend the next 78 years saying how bad the government is. But I want us now to do something about it. We have created, the UIC is here for us to do something about it. How do we do something about it? We have to make sure that the UIC has a membership of at least 500,000 members. Number one. We have to make sure that the majority of those members are paying their dues. It's only $1,000 a month or $10 a month if you're in the US, the equivalent of that wherever you are in the world. Just imagine if we had 100,000 members giving $1,000 every single month, we would be able to ensure that every single candidate has the resources, the gas, the internet, the refreshment, the supplies, the marketing collaterals, to be able to go into the communities and hold meetings and talk with citizens. All of our candidates are working men and women. They're all workers. They're all people who are getting up every day and going to work. They're not full-time politicians like Andrew and Mark, who gets up every day and all they can think about is, how are we going to fool the Jamaican people today? They're already paying us with their tax dollars, so we don't have to worry. We're getting their tax money every day to feed us. They provide security for us, so every time we drive around, we have security. The taxpayers pay for our vehicles and our gas, so we don't have to worry about vehicles or gas. We're driving around every day. We in the UIC, we are not in that privileged position. Every move we make is at our expense. And thanks to those of you who are giving 25, 10, 5, whatever dollars. So let us be real. I want us to be real about this and stop talking in fairy tale terms. Let's be very real that the UIC is going to win the next election if we make it happen. Not Joseph Patterson, not a small group of people somewhere in the UIC, if we make it happen. So that's you and me and Douglas and Chase and Nyieka, Mrs. Patterson, Winston, right? It's we, all of us, who have to come together and make it happen. Stop thinking fairy tale. They have dumbed us down about politics. They make us so dumb that we think politics happens in a vacuum, that all we have to do is wake up and go and vote. No.
Yeah.
It's much more than voting. Voting is putting the icing on the cake. You know what is most important? What the PSOJ does. The PSOJ organize two political parties and give us one coin with two sides. The PSOJ then give that coin, the two sides, the money they need. In the last election, $300 million. So that they would be able to come now and buy your votes with $300 million. And when they win, they will steal billions of dollars and make the PSOJ oligarchies happy and make the politicians who are a part of that collusion happy. And then they will disperse that cost among all of us with the bad roads, with the bad police, with the bad hospitals, with the bad education. And we all will then pick up the tab for the trick they just pull on us. The $300 million trick they pull on us, which is the PSOJ give them $300 million, them fool us, win power, and take control of our tax dollars, take control of the ability to borrow money in our name, and then thief some of that money, and then push that cost out to the rest of us to pay for it. It's time we wake up and understand how the system works and realize the UIC is not going to happen by magic. It's not going to happen by wishing. It's not going to happen by hoping. It's not going to happen by praying. It's going to happen by doing. And all of us must get involved in the doing, not just the talking. We talk too much. It's time for us to get up, stand up, and fight for our rights. And that means putting our money where our mouth is, and putting our talents where our mouth is, and putting our time where our mouths are.
Well said, Mr. President. And I'm seeing some people saying, why donate if they're not sure the UIC will win? And I'm saying, well, if you don't donate, we won't win. So, I mean, we need your donations. We need you to step up in the same way that, you know, Mr. Patterson and his wife and others in the UIC have stepped up. We need you to step up and play your part. No, you don't have to be the president of the UIC. You don't have to play that part. That part is already being played. But you can play your part by sharing and getting involved and being part of the movement. Because it's like, you know, a movement isn't just, it's not just something that falls out of the sky. It's people that form the movement. So if nobody comes and joins hands with us, you know, if you see our logo is the joining hands together, right? If nobody comes and joins hands with it, one hand can't clap. You know, we need your support. So it's one thing to say that you don't want to donate because you're not sure it's, you know, if the UIC is going to last. But it's another thing to say, well, if I don't donate, how will it last?
Douglas, look at it. Suppose in 2012, I said, boy, this is going to be a really difficult task to get a party created in Jamaica that is going to compete against two well-established parties with all the backings of all the money in the world. So back in 2012, I just said, no, forget about it. We wouldn't be talking about this today. And then in 2018, when they said they changed all the rules, because remember, before 2018, there were no stringent laws about creating a political party. Anybody could create a party any minute they want, except that they still have to compete with two very well grounded and funded, you know, parties. But in 2018, they changed the laws and made it more difficult for anybody to create a political party. In fact, what they did was to wipe out all third parties when they brought in these new laws. Now, at that point, I could have just give up and said, forget about it. But instead, I went through their rigorous process and put all the info together. Me, my wife, my then vice president, Mr. Grandison, his wife, Chavalie, and all the other persons that were there, the chairman, and we worked through this. And I remember night after night after night, I'm on the road signing up people. I signed up between me and my wife and Grandison and his wife, between four of us, we signed up 1,300 persons to say they want to help to make this party a reality. Now, all of that was at my full expense. Every single night, gas, my vehicle broke down, mash up. I went into areas when I come home, my front end is gone, you know, the whole thing, the steer off, you know, and we went through this bitter process. And then when we finally put the Bible together and bring it up to the Electoral Office of Jamaica, they could not believe. They were shocked that anybody took the time to go and make sure that Jamaica would have a third party. And then they spent 10 months fighting us tooth and nail to try to dissuade us from continuing, to block the party from coming in. And we fought those 10 months with them. That's time and energy away from work and family to make this happen, and money. I remember the first $50,000 I had to go and pay down for them to accept the application. And we went through this vigorous process. And then finally, on the 2nd of December, 2019, they gave us the charter, knowing that they have weakened us through the process with all the energy and that they sucked out of people. People just give up. Some members just quit and say, I can't bother with this and whatever. And we continued through the process all the way through until we're here today. Now, supposing we thought like some who said, well, the future is unsure. We may not, it probably won't materialize. We would not have it. Even when recently a group of persons that came in tried to see if they could snatch away the organization, they weren't there to make it happen. They weren't a part of all of that to make it happen. In fact, you have one gentleman that's with them right now that used to be a vice president. He made sure that he opted out when all of that hard work had to be done. But today he has a big mouth. But listen, we have done the work. We have shown you that we are willing to do the work. Why don't you now just clasp hands with us and say, let us carry the next leg. Let's take it to the next level. Let's overcome the next hurdle. Together, we're stronger together if we just stick with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Who else do we have? I'm trying to see. Let's see now.
Mr. Info said he read the manifesto today. Big up to you, sir. Respect on that.
Big ups, big ups, big ups. Emperor Theophilus says it's a beautiful struggle.
a beautiful and painful struggle.
Painful struggle.
I tell you, know. And by the way, don't take it lightly. It's some people take it very lightly, but it's actually, for me personally and my wife, that because we're the only members that have remained consistent. You know, you've had members before who have been there, and as the wear and tear, takes its toll, people just drop off along the way. But you're now looking at, this is our 11th year working on the UIC, Mrs. Patterson and I. 11th year. Our terms is now his 3rd year. I think this is probably your 1st year that you're involved, and so it's a long struggle, and you can't afford to give up.
All right. So this question is from Nihao. How do you deepen and widen the wealth creation process instead of widen and deepen marginalization of the masses?
Okay, great question. I love that kind of question. The way the UIC's approach is the best approach for Jamaica. We want to build the economy from the bottom up. What does that mean? It means ensuring that every Jamaican has the financial literacy that they need to have by providing that for free in an objective way, not led by the banking sector or led by any other special interest group, but giving our people a full understanding of money from the bottom up in our school system and publicly available. The truth about the economy, not just the Jamaican economy, but the global economy, how that economy has worked over the years to disadvantage the majority of its people while enriching a few. Then giving them the tools, making sure that we have a free banking system as opposed to the one we have now. So we have the level of competition in banking, the accessibility, making sure having a bank account is a right, not a privilege, not something that the bank gets to decide if you get it or not. Once you're here in Jamaica, you're born here or you live here or you're a citizen here, you are guaranteed a bank account. Then making sure that capital is accessible to all Jamaicans based on their character. Not based on their, collateral. So if you demonstrate good character, you have access to credit and you can use that. Secondarily, making sure that we have a true monetary system, like true money, real money. So our money must be backed by productivity and not simply one that's backed by the faith of the government. That's foolishness. You want money that is real. So when you earn $1,000 today, it must be worth $1,000 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. So we want to make sure that your future is secured from a retirement standpoint. You mustn't have to be engaged in high risk activity to maintain the value of the money you have worked for. If you have worked hard for $1,000 today and it can buy, say, 5 loaves of bread today, your government must have a system of economics that ensures that if you put down that $1,000 and do nothing else with it, you should be able to buy 5 loaves of bread 10 years from now or 20 years from now. That is good fiscal policy. That is good monetary policy. That is a good banking system. So the UIC is going to do that. All of those things, free banking, access to capital, access to the banking services at every level of the economy, proper education for our children and adults, a workfare program to get adults who have been out of the work system for too long, to get them retrained and re-engaged. Making sure all of our young people that are leaving school are not left stranded. They go right into an apprenticeship program that pays them to learn and brings out the best in them from a productivity and a citizenship standpoint. Go ahead.
All right, question. All right, here we go. Are there any plans to use garbage as a form of energy production?
Now you're talking our language.
Yeah. So we have a lot of garbage.
Well, yes, and it's not like we want to have a lot of garbage. I mean,
no.
What a UIC government is going to do? We want a very different Jamaica, right? So you're talking about a very clean Jamaica. When the UIC is in office, we're going to make sure Jamaica is clean in every sense of the word, cleansed of corruption and cleansed of improper management of waste. So we're going to have optimal waste management. All of the biodegradable waste is going to be treated in a way that allows us to extract the energy from that waste in the form of biogas. So we're going to have a lot of waste management streams from your toilet, from your kitchen waste, from your yard waste. All of that is going to be vital material in a UIC government. You're not going to just throw things away. Then other material waste, plastics and metals, are going to be precious to us. We're going to harvest all of those and maximize the way we use them. Then we're talking about, for example, water. We're going to treat water like gold. So we're going to build our capacity to capture, process, store, export, and optimally use water across the country in a way that will improve our biodiversity, improve our water security, improve our farming, and so on. We're going to have massive industrialized organic farms that again will benefit from all of these connectivity in the ecosystem, connecting the waste to the energy, to the water, to the food security. So yes, we're going to use our garbage very, very well.
All right, so Patriotic Vibes is asking, should the UIC succeed in winning the election, what will be its first 200 days goal?
That's very easy for me. Our number one goal when we take office, our first goal is to create and implement a new constitution that protects the rights and freedoms of all Jamaicans fully and completely eliminate the crown and the colonial system from Jamaica. We're going to immediately put in place a constitution that will empower the Jamaican people and protect the Jamaican people and enrich the Jamaican people from the bottom up. Everything we do that's about development is from the bottom up. And everything we do in terms of fixing crime is from the top down. We're going to weed out the criminals from the top in terms of our political system, from the top in terms of our police system, from the top in terms of our justice system. We're going to weed out the criminals from the top, because when you get rid of the top man, get the people at the bottom and in the middle to be in a better position, to be retrained, recultured, and gotten in a better position to become true contributors to nation building. So we are going to put top of the agenda a new system of governance, a new constitution. And of course, while we're doing this, we're going to ensure that we open up the economy for the small men and women. We're going to make sure we take away all the regulations that are protecting big business and oppressing small businesses. We're going to give you access to capital, access to markets, access to technology to lift up your productive capacity and create as much employment as possible in the shortest possible time for our people.
All right. Another question here from Kuya. With the right numbers of supporters, do you think we the people could demand an early election?
Absolutely. In fact, if we wanted an election, now we can get it. We the people. If the UIC was not being blocked, what we did on September 22nd, 2021 would have been the beginning of the end very quickly for this administration. They succeeded because we let them, we allowed them. If we the people had said, no, sir, what them were trying to do with us when they were trying to take away our right to bodily autonomy and trying to force upon us this what do you call it now? Their colonial master's prescription for the fabricated problem that we had. If the people had rallied around and said, no, sir, we're not done with this. So them lock up Patterson, 500 of us were trying to walk to our house, the Gordon house, and them come and block we off everywhere. No, sir, we're not going to allow this. And come together and work together and say yes, and just flooded the UIC. And all of us put on our blue shirt and stuff and say, enough of this. The government would have to bend. They've done it in Sri Lanka. They've done it in other countries. But instead, what did we do? We allowed a few of us inside the organization to create mayhem and division and use that to weaken the organization and cause us to have to spend valuable time and energy trying to rebuild something they never built in the first place. They tore down in a month what took years to be built. And we must never allow them to do that again. We must stamp them out and never allow any infiltrators to come into this movement and seek to tear it down on any false pretext whatsoever.
Amen. JMH says, power, UIC, power.
Yes.
That's right. All right, so another question. Okay, here we go. Bruce Davis says, what if others who dropped out because of financial or otherwise wish to come back? Will they be accepted?
Absolutely. The UIC will accept every single person who wants to be a member of the movement, so long as that person has not brought disrepute on the movement. If you just backed out or you didn't have financial means, which all of us have them problem there. All of us at one point or the other would have had some kind of difficulty. So everybody's welcome. We welcome all Jamaicans. Whether you're coming from PNP or GLP or independent or anywhere you are, whether you are in foreign or local, we welcome every single Jamaican who wants to be a part of the struggle to reclaim Jamaica. But if you're somebody who has openly brought disrepute upon the movement and sought to destroy the movement from within, then of course will we be dumb enough to bring you back into the movement? Absolutely not. I wouldn't want such person. I wouldn't trust such person to work with them. But if you're just somebody who, you got tired, you got distracted, you got deceived, and you want to come back in, you're more than welcome. We welcome every single Jamaican from every walks of life, rich or poor, local or international. The UIC is for you. And those of you who have done bad, the UIC is still for you, but we can't allow you to come in because we know what bad apples do, right?
That's right. All right, so here's a comment here by Chat Truth Vibes. Mr. Patterson, why not give Slow Flow some of your t-shirts to sell on his platform?
A brilliant idea. I had a chance to be on his platform a couple of times. So most definitely, let's do it. Let's do it. Whoever that was, who was that question from?
Chat Truth Vibes.
Chat Truth Vibes. That's now your assignment. Your assignment is to coordinate and help us to make sure that the t-shirts get on Slow Flow or Soul Flow? Soul Flow.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Slow Flow. Soul Flow. I don't remember.
Yeah, Soul Flow. Yes.
Shop Boss says, good night, Mr. Patterson. Good night, Mr. Douglas Harper. Mr. Patterson, I hope is not talking, you're talking alone, and no action. We expect better by you, please.
Well, by now, Mr. Shop Boss, by now, if you don't see me as a man of action, okay, there's a song from the old time. It goes something like this. If you don't know me by now, you'll never know me again. You know that song? So if you don't see, I don't think I need to prove myself anymore to anybody who's paying attention. So sometimes I hear comments like those and I wonder, what more do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I have put my neck on the line
on the block
for us. Right? So now let's turn the question around. I hope you not just talk.
Yeah.
I hope Uno not just talk. Because me walk the walk, So I hope Uno, all of Uno out there who I hope me not talk. I hope you not just talk. I hope you know, Shop Boss, going do something and show us that you're not just a talker.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is that we've been cultured to, you know, to be expecting things from our politicians. So we're not involved in politics. We just, we just show up to the polls. Everything is done for us, and we show up to the polls.
And some don't even show up.
Us, well, that's true.
Yeah. And
here's
I want to tell you something. In Jamaica's election, most of the talkers don't show up at the polls. To be honest with you, they simply see politics as entertainment. So they sit down in their living room. I wonder who's going to win, and they watch the advertisement. Who had the better odds? Oh, look, him I wear the Clarks. Oh, look at the dub plate where I use. Or, oh, that one the good. That was a good move by Andrew. Oh, that was a good move by Phillips. And they just, for them, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
And then
I actually know someone who they're like, I love politics because it's entertainment. And I'm like, what?
And then what they do now, they leave the voting to a small subset of the country, particularly the most poor and most vulnerable. They leave them now to do the dirty work of voting. And they go to work and they sit down and wait. What's the result? Oh, the PNP win. Or, oh, the JLP. Oh, I wanted the PNP to win enough. Oh, no, I wanted the JLP to win enough. Oh, no. Or I didn't really like the candidate in. I wish he would have won. And that's the kind of attitude, because they don't realize the consequences of politics. If we understood the consequences of politics, we would take it more seriously. Let me tell you the consequences of politics. The consequences of politics is Donnelly right. Okay? Whether or not the justice system will work properly, whether or not the police is anti-corrupt enough to have done the right thing. The consequences of politics is the price of energy. The consequence of politics is 600 teachers migrating to run away from their country because life is too hard. The consequence of politics is the cost of corruption that leaves us with bad roads, bad schools, bad hospitals, bad police services. The consequence of politics is Jamaica being the number 2 or 3 murder capital in the world. That's the consequence of politics. So if we don't take politics serious enough, not the game of it, not the theatrics. If you notice, I'm a very bad politician. I'm a terrible politician because I do not do very well with the theatrics, with the games. And I know some people get mad with me. There are some people who have quit the UIC because I don't play the game the way they want me to play it. So they send me messages and say, Mr. Patterson, go do this, go do that, go do this now. Because they think I'm in some kind of theater and I'm some kind of puppet that you pull on a string. No, I'm a serious person. I'm not doing this because I love politics. I'm doing this because I realize that nobody else is going to do it.
Exactly.
I realize that I've been waiting from a boy, from a little boy, may I wonder some things about my country and say, how it stays so, how Jamaica stays so. I may wonder, and I see my mother, she was an activist. Every single election, she's there working hard for Manley and the PNP to get, I may watch her go on and I observe. I said, no, this doesn't seem right. This not. And I went away now and I see other countries. I've lived in Canada, been to Germany, been to the Netherlands, been to China, been to Myanmar, been to France, and I've gone over and said, I'm saying, hold on there, something wrong. Why is it that me have to live in a burglar bars in my country, and in Canada, I don't have the burglar bars? Why is it when I'm coming home late at night, I have to be looking over my shoulders and be careful how I drive up to my gate and watch everything, and I worry? Why is it I have to make sure when I come in the house, may I quickly lock up and make sure all the security? And in Canada, I didn't have to do that. And I said, hold on a second. Why is it that a little country like Singapore, 1/15 the size of Jamaica, why is it that they were able to become a first-class nation in 25 years and we can't do it after 78 years? And so I decided that I know that I have the capacity to help. I know I have the ability to help. I know that I understand the economy very, very fully. I understand systems. I've done a lot of systems work around the world for different companies. I know what the problem is and I know what the solution is. But am I going to sit down and hope and pray that somebody else will go and do it? So no, I step forward and I'm doing my part, and all I'm asking is that each and every one of you step forward and come do your part too.
Yeah, and it's a very small ask. I mean, hats off to you for doing what you've done, Mr. Patterson. Because one of the reasons I joined the UIC is, similar thing. I was just like, there is no hope here. And, when I saw the UIC, I was like, well, I mean, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I get involved and join and become a part of this movement? So the next question is from Relaxation Music. How can I get in touch with the rep for Trelawney?
Very, very easy. You just go on our website and make the request, and you'll get a response. I see somebody else here saying, though, that I need to, who is it? Patriotic Vibes. You have to understand the art of war. I have read the book. Sun Tzu, I think it is, The Art of War.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've read the book. I know all of the, I won't describe it. I know all of the tactics that has been written there for us to follow. And I understand all of that. So what I invite those of you who are very smart about strategy and about how to effect anything, come do it.
Yeah, help us do
Join
it. Yeah.
the UIC and come do it. Join, form a committee, be on whichever committee, and come and do what you want me to do. Not sit and put out there and say, Mr. Patterson, go learn the art of war, or Mr. Patterson, go do this. Uno, come do it. All of we come together. Don't wait. The quicker we do it, the better, because the next election is around the corner. I believe in September we might have an election coming up. So run, come, hurry up. Everybody run, come, and hurry up, and let's get together and do what we need to do, and stop waiting for somebody else to do it. Come on board. If you have skills in marketing, public relations, strategy, finance, fundraising, whatever the skills are that you have, whatever it is that you would like to tell me to do, you come and demonstrate it in this party, or at least help somebody to do it personally.
Amen. Amen. Let's see, any other questions? Not seeing any more questions. Coffee says, can I get a description for the UIC? First time hearing about it. Well, welcome, Coffee.
Who is that? What's the name of the person?
I think it's Coffee.
Oh, Coffee.
K-O-F-I.
Yeah, Kofi.
Kofi. Maybe.
That's a lovely name. I like the name. Is that your African name, Kofi, or is that your real name, or a makeup name? But I like it. In my next life, when I have another child, I'm going to call them Kofi. That's a lovely name. Can I get a description of the UIC? Well, the UIC is a movement and political party, Jamaica's third registered, and we're committed to protecting the life, liberty, and property rights of all Jamaicans. Our aim, our vision, is a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people, and our mission is to create a non-partisan constitutional republic that will ensure that all Jamaicans can live, earn, and retire in dignity with liberty in their own country. Our core values are centered around individual liberty and personal responsibility. Such words as equal opportunity, equal rights, equal justice aptly describe the kind of things that we want to create for the people of Jamaica. At the end of the day, in summary, we're here to protect your individual sovereignty and to give you the conditions you need to achieve your maximum potential in this country. You don't have to run to a greener paradise somewhere else. We want to make Jamaica a green paradise, a beautiful paradise, where all Jamaicans have equal opportunity to learn, to grow, to earn, and to be the best that they can possibly be. Long answer. Patriotic Vibe says, Mr. Patterson, I'm one of your biggest supporters, so that's not meant to be an insult. Only time mina me not talking about USC when me asleep. Yeah, man, respect patriotic. No, man, I fully understand. And forgive me if I sound combative. I hope I'm not. But you know me sometimes, right? I have to just say the thing the way it is. And it's not meant to suggest that you're not a strong supporter. And I know you are. I really appreciate it. Big up. Respect. All right. What's the next one? Oh, Jonathan Ryder, very good answer to Kofi. Thank you so much for that.
Where was that?
JMH says, I was such a fool to the system last election. I have played both party dub plate loud on speakers in my community and knock pat cover when JLP in UIC changes. Thank you, JMH. You know, the UIC is really the education party. Our goal is to really open the understanding. You know, we're not, if you notice, we're not playing politics as usual. We're not trying to simply fool the people to win the next election. We want to bring the people up. We want to lift up the Jamaican people, open up the understanding of the people, and make sure that when a Jamaican, you see, the UIC Jamaica of the future, and you're talking about some highly intelligent and informed people. When we finish with the Jamaican people, in our first 5 years of government, you're going to see a very different culture evolving in Jamaica, a culture of intellect, a culture of intelligence, a culture of reasoning, a culture of cause and effect relationship, understanding. Our children are going to see education in a new way. Education will become something lovely. It's like eating good food. When they go to school, they're going to enjoy going to school because it's going to be real, practical, pragmatic, very related to all of the things they need to know and do to be successful men and women. It won't be rote learning anymore. It won't be memorization anymore. It's going to be practical learning, and also one that makes them proud of the dark skin or whatever shade skin they may have. They're going to learn to see themselves as beautiful and full of potential and having all the capacity in the world to be their best selves. The poorest of Jamaican is going to now be a property owner, a chance to live in a decent home, something that is impossible for 75% of the contributors to the NHT. In a UIC Jamaica, all 75% of them who have been disenfranchised will now be able to own a decent home in a decent community with decent amenities right there for them to access. And they're going to be given the capacity to pay for it by the workfare program that we're going to bring in, by the organic farming that we're going to bring in, by the community tourism that we're going to expand across the island. We're going to give every Jamaican a chance that they never had before because they're going to have a government they have never had before.
Yes, and Kofi says, thanks for description. Is this a weekly show? When is the next live stream? The next live stream is actually tomorrow.
Yes.
We have shows every day, well, Mondays to Fridays, every day during the week. And so tomorrow we'll have another show starting at 8 p.m. Let's see, what's here?
All right, I think we only have 2 minutes to go, Douglas. We're about 30 minutes over our time, at least. Some of us need to go to bed early or on time.
Yes. Yes. So closing thoughts. We just need to come together, guys. The UIC is the change that Jamaica needs, the change that you can trust. That's one of our mottos, our mottos. So the car or the engine has been bit. It's time for us to get in the car and move, right?
Yeah.
So let's jump on board. Let's come together, right? And lock arms and change Jamaica for the better, because there's so much Jamaica has that we can offer to the world, and it's just being downgraded and inhibited and mined and money sent elsewhere. I mean, we have so much that we could offer the world, and so much that we could offer ourselves. You know, for a lot of us, we're so focused on, you know, what's happening outside, but here in Jamaica, we're suffering, and we should not be in that state. We have enough land, we have enough water, we have enough all around us to really provide for each other, provide for ourselves, to be energy secure, to be food secure, to be water secure, to provide proper roads and you know, timely garbage pickup, you know, to provide proper education systems, you know, basic health care. We have all of that here. So it's clear that the other two parties they're just pussyfooting around. They're fine with what's happening. They don't want to change what's happening, and they're fine with just keeping things the way they are. But
yeah,
that can't continue. It's been 78 years of not even being stagnant. We've regressed. 78 years of regression. So it's like we start the 100-meter, and we're gone back to the 200-meter line, and we're going back to the 300-meter line. We've regressed in the last 78 years. So let's come together, join hands, lock arms, and take this country forward. Mr. Patterson, your final words.
Thank you very much. I was busy trying to block that dating site that Natalie Mullins pointed out to us. They keep coming on and trying to disrupt the thing. But thank you, Natalie. We're working on it. And thank you, Lion Rule, for jumping on that as well. What can I say? In closing tonight, I want to say thanks to all of you who have been on with us. It's really an honor and a privilege to have you share some time with us on each of these programs. We really appreciate it. I want to say a big thank you to all of our donors. We have a big meeting on the 27th with our top donors. Anybody who is giving, by topping, I don't mean big only for money, you know, I mean $25 US. So, you know, we have a goal to have 1,000 persons giving $25 US per month. And all of those persons have been invited to a meeting tomorrow. We call them the major donors meeting. Sorry, on Saturday the 27th, where at 3 o'clock, where we get together and I share with them strategy, what we're trying to do, answer some questions and stuff like that at this meeting. We also have on Sunday coming up, this Sunday, our members and supporters open meeting with the National Executive Council. I hope you have subscribed to our website, so you're a member, you have joined up, so you will get these emails. So the email was sent out to all members and supporters to come to our big meeting on Zoom. So it will be a big Zoom meeting on Sunday, that's the 28th. I think it's at 5 p.m. So if you have not gotten your invitation, it means that somehow you're not in the system. So please write in, go on our website now and send us a message and tell us to put you on the mailing list so that you get these mails. And I just want to say that even though sometimes I'm a bit rough in terms of I just tell you wagwan, I love all of you just the same way and have great respect for you. And I'm looking forward to us, you know, just getting it done. I'm tired of waiting, and I'm sure you're tired of waiting too. So let's all just get together and stand up for our rights, change the country, take it over, and let's create the Jamaica we want to see. All the best. Have a good night. Take care.
All right. Good night, everyone.